Great start.
I've been having these dreams lately
All right.
where it's not lucid dreaming. I don't totally wake up in the dream and become lucid and be like, okay, I'm dreaming, I can do whatever I want. But I logically come to the conclusion that the dream scenario is so absurd that the only logical conclusion is that I'm dreaming.
Okay.
This has been happening a lot lately. But I've had lucid dreams where I'm like, oh shit, I'm totally dreaming, and then I run and I try to take flight and shit. I used to do that a lot, like when I was younger. I was actively trying to lucid dream.
Yeah.
I don't do that, but recently it's just been this this logical deduction that the only possible things start not making sense. I'm like, hold on, why is that person here?
Yeah.
Why are we in this situation? That doesn't make any sense. And then I reach the conclusion that I'm dreaming. So last night I was circled with, family and friends in the dream or whatever, and I don't know what the fuck was going on. I forget the actual context. But I was like, hold on. I was like, this out loud to the group. I'm like, this doesn't fucking make sense. There's no way this could be happening. This has to be a dream. And everybody in the dream is always like, no, you're just crazy or whatever. And then I figured if I start punching myself in the face, I can wake myself up. So then I just remember punching myself in my face, and all my family and friends are kind of disturbed by it. But instead of waking myself up, I just scene shift to another random
And then
dream.
the dream logic begins again?
Yeah, then I'm back into a different dream, but I'm fully immersed, fully believing it. And this dream was like, I was looking out a window, and I saw in the distance like a turkey vulture, like a big black like turkey vulture flying.
Okay.
And it came surprisingly all the way to my window, and just like at the last second pulled up before it slammed into the window. It's a big ass fucking bird.
Come to my window.
Beautiful, yeah. And I looked out the window, and then a fucking bear had dragged a bear carcass and was eating it. So bear on bear violence.
That's pretty normal.
And then right next to it, a coyote had dragged a fox and was eating it.
Lots of animal violence.
It
What does it
doesn't matter.
mean?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the dream thing is kind of weird, right?
Right.
Not lucid dreaming, but logically concluding you must be dreaming.
The one thing I've had similar to that is that when I realize it's a dream, I wake up, but then I'll wake up and then go back to sleep right away. So then and then I go back in a dream world. But I'll have
you realize it's a dream and it jolts you awake.
Yeah, I realize the dream. Like I don't live in it anymore. I don't have to punch myself in the face or anything.
I don't know why I did that.
But I wake. It's like when I just and then I wake up. But which is normal. But what's crazier is to go back into it. Like how the mind is so malleable that it's just like, all right, well now we're back to believing crazy
plunging
dream
right
stuff.
into the depths.
Yeah.
Interesting. There is a thing within Buddhism that when you get advanced in like Buddhist meditation, even as you're advancing, that lucid dreams happen more. And then some people, when they're very like highly achieved in meditation, enlightenment territory, there's no cessation of awareness. So like I don't even, because I'm obviously, this is not speaking from experience. This is speaking from hearing other people talk about their experience. But it's almost like you don't get tricked into the dream anymore. Like you could still be having the dream happening, but like when you're awake and meditating, when you're doing it well, you're watching experience happen without identifying with it, right?
Right.
So you can just apply that to the dream world. In fact, the analogies are right there. They always talk about waking up, awakening, right? Is like you wake up from the dream of self, the constant compulsive thinking. And more importantly than the thinking itself is the identification with the thinking. And so you could see why that analogy easily bleeds over into dreams where you're observing even the dream, but you're not identified with it.
Right. So you're in dream world, and yet you can still become like third party to it.
Observer.
Almost.
Yeah. Interesting, right?
You know what? I don't know if I've ever discussed this before. I keep it to myself because I'm very stupid, but I give dreams like fucking zero credence most of the time. And I feel bad because a lot of people really get into them, especially a lot of people in recovery, because they start dreaming again intensely for the first time in a while. So it's like this big thing.
Interesting.
And it's like the abstract stuff, which I think of it as like it can be interpreted, but it's even your mind working a way to interpret it. Like, when you start, the way I always think it is, the more abstract it is, the more sort of like, more you manipulate it.
Rorschach blot, like you can just read into it.
Right. And you like, the more concise and like exacting a dream is just like you take it for what it's worth. But it's always one of those, like one really very conscious, like very real seeming and not like weirdo dream world thing. is like the using dreams that a lot of people have. Like they're all normal scenarios. You're not using on like, in like London in year 2090, whatever,
What the fuck?
with robots or something. I think I was thinking of Cloud Atlas. Anyways, but you're not, it's like a real sort of scenario that you have, and that's why people wake up like really shaken. They're like, oh my God, I relapsed. Like you believe almost for like, a minute that you relapse. But those, those come, and then there's just super weird dreams. Just like completely don't understand. Maybe you don't even want to tell people about them because they're so out there and bizarre in weird ways. But
Incest dreams, just saying.
yeah. Well, I mean, I was gonna say, yeah, incest dreams. But and it's funny too because I think a lot of people, those really weird dark ones, you're like, well, that was just the brain being a weirdo. But ones that are more palatable, then you really explore. But
That's interesting. Yeah.
I think it's just it's what you do. It's like with a lot of things in life where you can, like people that believe, things are happening for a reason and this is a test from God or stuff. Like you can just kind of, it's more about how you apply it than what's actually, I think, happening in your life.
Agree.
There's so many people where, faith is almost kind of irrelevant to the things that happen to your life. That's the funny thing is, usually even more privileged people are less likely to believe. And more people in hardship, like around the world, who have much, much, much worse off, have more to believe, like have a stronger faith. And I think in a way that sort of applying the faith is it being irrelevant to what's actually happening around you. It's just internal. And it's the way we interpret dreams as well, too, is that whatever's going on, whatever things are firing and whatever imagery and crap we have going on there, it's just we just take the reins and we steer it to believe what we want to.
I think that's fair, and I think a similar thing, but it can be productive in the sense that it provokes self-reflection.
Yeah.
So even if your interpretations are wrong or arbitrary, you're still thinking deeply about yourself and trying to analyze things in terms of deeper self-knowledge. And I think in a very similar ways, the zodiac world can be like that.
I was just thinking that, dude.
It's a perfect analogy because, there's no real tethering to reality, like where you were born when the planets were aligned in a certain way. I'm sorry, it just is
not
nonsense.
in a cosmic way.
Right, it makes no sense. But what it does facilitate is inner investigation. You start thinking in terms of, what sort of person am I? What is my personality? How do I react to things? And that is a form of introspection, even though you're using a scientifically invalid prism or doorway like zodiac, what is it called?
Was it astrology?
Astrology, yeah. You're using astrology as the doorway into that interpretive thing.
Well, and the thing I will say is that the funny thing is, I believe it's a lot like conspiracy theories. Like there's so many conspiracies that are around us that are very grounded and awful and scary, but they're kind of boring in a way. They're not as like outlandish and stuff. And it's almost like the more outlandish it is, the more people will believe it. Because the astrology thing, actually, when and where you were born really does affect your life in an outside way. Like very simple things. One of the biggest examples is that like when you're born in Canada at a certain age as a young male, like really affects the trajectory of your life if you're born at a certain month. Because a lot of these people, they've looked at it in hockey, where it's like these people that move up in hockey are all born around the same month.
Because they're the oldest part of their cohort. So when they join youth sports, they're a little bit bigger. They have 6 months on the rest of the kids. And coaches often mistake that pubescent growth or that little cutting edge of being ahead of your cohort as superior talent.
Right.
So they get more resources, more attention.
That part too, because people would say, well, that didn't make sense because everybody kind of evens out, right? But no, it's the head start you get. Like even stuff in grade school, like to be taller, that can to be one of the taller people just solely because you're older and solely where like your growth spurt hits. Like if you just hit that right edge where you're in this class where you hit a growth spurt that's even a year before, even if you end up being just 5'7" or whatever, like that being tall in those moments, especially those early formative moments, gives you a sort of confidence, and then confidence always begets confidence, and so it kind of sends you on this path to where at the point it doesn't matter if you even out because you've already started in this sort of foundation of, again, at this very early age that sends you on this track to where maybe a girl liked you that wouldn't have liked you, or maybe you did have more prowess at sports and that instilled more confidence in your playing ability or just in your being ability. I'm one of the bigger kids, I'm taller,
100%.
like not even like in bullying or anything like that, but you just feel more prowess, and so you just have confidence even in like your fucking like handwriting, just little things, just because of the way you are, those kind of stupid yet very important things. And so And it goes for a lot of different stuff in a lot of different cultures. But that's the funny thing is that the astrology, or I mean, again, not in that cosmic way that at least I believe,
Right.
but in a very real way.
It's environmental and
circumstances-
social. It's,
yeah,
it's material, not not cosmological.
right. Which is the same way I think about dreams, where I think about they're not messages from a divine being or the outer stuff. It is stuff that is occurring in your life, the way your brain is processing it. But your brain is processing it for a certain reason.
Right. Well, in psychoanalysis, it's not about it's a way that the filter on your unconscious gets lifted and your brain wrestles with unconscious content. So it's not godly or supernatural.
Yeah.
It is just like the bubbling up of the things that your conscious mind puts a lid on. And so the idea in psychoanalysis is if you can parse out the meaning of that, you can get a deeper understanding of your unconscious and therefore come towards a more integrated wholeness within yourself, right?
And that parsing out part, though, that's
the dangerous. Well, a psychoanalysis might argue that that's why you need a trained professional psychoanalyst to do it with you, because you're too clouded by your own subjectivity. But ultimately, I just wanted to say that I agree with you that the day-to-day dreams, I mean, people could disagree, and people that are subscribed to psychoanalysis in some form or another almost certainly would. But my take on it is very similar to yours, that it's often nonsense. It's often just ephemera. It's often just chaos of different impressions you had that day and old memories kind of colliding and coming together. But I think what is more interesting, and I think the things you should pay attention to in dreaming, is when they become sustained patterns. So I talked in the past about how for many years, and even sometimes now, it's happening less lately, but that lost feeling, where I'd have 90% of my dreams for years was involved in this feeling. It's always different context, time and place. Listeners will have heard this already, but that I am trying to get back home and I can't. My phone doesn't work, the plane doesn't show up, the car won't go, I can't find directions, right? This a constant state of confusion and an inability to get home. And it's like, these dreams fucking suck. And lately I'm having these dreams where I'm like logically deducing that I'm dreaming. I'm not ready to make any statements about it or investigate it, but I think the important thing is if you do have sustained patterns in your dreaming over and over again, then that might be something worth thinking about. But trying to like take any one dream, like what does this mean? I think then you're off into la la land and you can just impose anything you want on it.
Which, by the way, if it puts you in a positive perspective, more to it. But
journaling is good, even if it's just nonsense.
I hate journaling.
I've never journaled.